Hey everyone, this is How to Teach Your Horse How to Lay Down Part 2, and I'm going to be kind of troubleshooting problems that you guys have been having. I've gotten a lot of messages and comments, and it's been almost 2 years since I've made the video, so I have quite a few things piled up that I want to discuss and talk about in this video. But I am in Arizona right now, where it's like 115 degrees during the day, so right now it's 6 a.m. and I already filmed what I could get. If you have not watched my initial laydown video, I would recommend watching that. This video will make a lot more sense, and there was some confusion after I posted it. I keep getting questions on it, and all of the steps for the laydown are in that video. Hopefully, if you're having an issue teaching the laydown with that no ropes, no force method, I will be able to answer it in this video. Let me know what you think of this video, and if you have any other questions. Today, Lynx and I are filming the part 2 for how to teach your horse how to lay down. And all you need for this is your horse, a halter, lead rope, a dressage whip, and some treats if you choose to use positive reinforcement. Assuming that you have watched the part 1 video and you are here because you are stuck at some point teaching your horse how to, still follow the rule of using the fence line at the beginning of teaching this. But then also another factor to consider is the footing you're doing it in. If your footing is too hard, your horse really is not going to want to lay down. For those of you who are struggling with getting their head to soften and go down and their poll to relax, you probably aren't paying close enough attention to right when they drop and releasing your hand. So you can see how light I am on the lead rope with Lynx, but the second he lowers his head, I release all of the pressure. And then to start to transfer this cue, you're going to tap on the belly and then ask with your hand. That way they'll start to understand that tapping on the belly means the same thing. I call these pull releases. So if your horse is really stuck and not understanding to lower their head with the lead rope or with the tapping of the belly, you're going to put your thumb and pointer finger together and squeeze their poll. And again, the second they drop it, you're going to release. If they shoot back up, then you're just going to ask them to lower it again really quietly. I do this with all my horses just to make sure they're nice and soft through their poll. But this also helps teach them that first step of the laydown. And again, if your horse ends on a really good note, just like I talked about in the first laydown video, don't be afraid to walk away and give them that big release. Now here, I'm going to demonstrate on my own leg because I have no reason to do this to Lynx, but I can barely even feel the whip tapping. So I know a lot of people struggle with this because they say, oh, my horse doesn't respond to the whip, my horse has no reaction to it. Well, you can see Lynx there. I started super light and I wasn't even touching him, I was just moving it near him. He didn't respond to it light, so I increased the pressure and that made him feel something. So here I'm showing that if I start super light and then increase the pressure until I get a response, eventually you'll be able to have a lighter cue. But you need to increase the pressure, otherwise your horse is just going to continue to ignore you and fall asleep to the tapping. By increasing the pressure, you are not going to hurt your horse. You would have to hit them really hard and it'll never escalate to a level like that, but you should not stop increasing the pressure until you get a response from your horse. Otherwise, you're teaching them to be dull to the whip and not respond to pressure. If you say your horse is falling asleep when you're asking, they're not moving their hind legs, then more likely than not, you're not increasing the pressure and you're letting them fall asleep to what you're asking. And in this clip, I'm demonstrating, you see he's kind of blowing me off. He's just relaxing down there, he's not paying attention. I'm just tapping the whip on the ground. As I start to increase the pressure of it, he's going to start thinking, oh, how do I respond to this? And that's the biggest thing, is to remember to release immediately. Otherwise your horse isn't going to understand how to respond to it. You have to reward them as soon as they make the slightest effort going in the right direction. This is another tip for those of you who have a lot of trouble trying to get the hind feet to move. You're getting stuck on that second step. You can't get them to bring their hind end under them. Besides increasing the pressure, like I just said, which I've had a lot of people send videos in, and that really is the biggest issue. Everyone says, oh, my horse is dead to it, they don't respond to the tapping. You're just not asking enough and you're releasing it all of the wrong time. But this is another step that could help you out. So I'm going to start Lynx off in a staggered position with his hind leg. So right now he's most likely to move forward his hind right. So I'm going to set him up for success by having him set up with that right hind leg parked out, tap. The second he moves it forward, I'm going to release and reward him for that. I had someone ask me about a horse kicking out when you're asking for their hind feet to move forward. Yes, this is fine. No, you don't want them double barreling you or trying to viciously kick it, but if a big horsefly is biting their leg or their belly, they're going to kick out at it. And essentially that's what we're trying to replicate here by having a no ropes, no force laydown. We're trying to get them to want to bring their legs up to their stomach and mimic the movements they would do to naturally lay down in a paddock. So by acting like a fly, we're wanting them to kick up at it, but now we're only going to release and reward if their hind foot comes forward. If they kick up and move it backwards, we're going to keep tapping. We're not going to increase the pressure because, again, they're giving answers, but we are not going to reward for that. So now I'm going to draw a line just as a visual. So again, this is me just talking about that hind leg coming forward. Good, and it's pretty clear with him. Okay, and the next thing people are struggling with goes to step 3. I tried to kind of put everything in order. So they're saying, my horse is getting stuck with their head down and their hind feet in and they won't pick up their front feet. Start by just asking for the front feet to come up without having their hind feet underneath them. The second they even knock one leg open, you're going to release. And you could see back there when I walked Lynx away because he got it right. And again, one of those really big releases. I believe I talked about this in the first video. When you're teaching them step 3 to lift up their front legs and pop them up, don't worry about their head being down and their hind feet being in. First, just teach them that when you go behind their knees and you tap for them to unlock their legs. So then eventually you can keep building on that and then ask them to do that with their head down and then put all 3 together. The biggest question I have is, my horse went down, but they won't stay down. What do I do? So as soon as Lynx goes down, and he's pretty solid at the trick, I don't want to let my horse roll. Okay, so I'm going to try to prevent them from rolling. And Lynx doesn't have the issue of shooting up because I've worked on it. So what I'm going to do is take his halter, I have a lead rope on because we're in a big area right now, take his halter and make him so he goes flat. And now this is where I like to use positive reinforcement. So I have a cookie there and I'm going to bring it to his mouth to reward him. If you have a food motivated horse, they're going to want to stay down where they're getting fed. Now another thing you can do, if the trees aren't cutting it, you can literally take a small bucket of grain and put it in front of them as they're down as a jackpot reward. And make sure you're the one to ask your horse when they should get up. Now, he's sitting because that's just a trick we were working on recently. But right there I'm asking him to fully get up and he gets up. I'm going to talk a little bit about positive reinforcement. I use a lot of negative reinforcement. I'm really big on pressure and release. And what you won't be able to hear in the video is I also give a cluck. I gave a cluck right when he made the right movement, and then I bring the treat to him, right? So I don't let him come to me for the treat. I put it right underneath so he has to go into a little bit of a headset to get it. So good. He brought his hind foot forward. I clucked, and now I'm going to bring the treat to him. So if you do decide to use positive reinforcement, I definitely use a lot more negative reinforcement than positive, but there's so many horses that it really helps and they really understand it a lot better. So if you feel like you have a horse that's getting stuck with something, maybe try a little bit of positive reinforcement. These are 2 questions that people had that don't exactly relate to my method, but one of them was, my horse only lays down with their foot up. How can I transfer this cue over? So again, just like with the head down cue, you'll tap, pick up the foot, and then continue to tap as you lay your horse down. So that's just sequencing of cues, teaching your horse the new cue. Another question was, my horse keeps circling before they lay down, how do I get them to stop? Well, in this method, you don't allow the horse to circle anyways from the start, but what I would suggest if you allowed your horse to circle around you, make sure once they stop moving their feet, as soon as they give a little bit of try, lowering their head, moving one hind foot in, reward them for that, and then back them up a step. It'd be a lot easier if when you initially teach this, you don't allow your horse to move forward. I do believe I talked about this in the first video. Hopefully you can go back in there and find it. To get them to stay down, the easiest way is going to be using positive reinforcement, and then little by little you'll start moving away from them and coming back and rewarding them. But the biggest thing to remember is you have to be the one to ask your horse to stand up. And right here I am working on keeping him down longer in the laydown again. Here I am going to use positive reinforcement. So again, I'll put that lead rope around the neck. And you can see I don't really use the lead rope too much. It was completely loose there. Lynx is really wanting to roll in this nice dirt today, so I'm just going to make sure he stays nice and flat. I'm going to keep asking him to come down. As soon as I'm ready, I'm going to ask him to get up. And again, don't mind him sitting every time. That's just a trick we were working on recently. So again, right here, you can see every time he's making an attempt, I stop tapping, right? So I didn't tap right there because he was trying to give me an answer. Even within doing the trick, I'm giving him little releases for giving me the right answer. Good, so this is me demonstrating walking around him, teaching him to stay down longer. I'm just gonna walk around him, maybe walk back, give him a reward, and then when I'm ready, I'm gonna be the one to ask him to stand up. And you can do this while they're either kind of sitting up laying down or while they're flat. Now this video is, again, this is the part 2, so this is for people who have already watched the first video and have been working on it with their horses, but there's some areas they need help with or they've had questions on. So if you're just teaching your horse this, then even if they're popping up right after they lay down, don't worry about it. Keep rewarding the fact that they're just going down for right now. If you start asking for everything at once, which tends to happen, then you'll be saying, oh, my horse can't get the lay down, they're getting stuck at this point. Yes, because you're not rewarding for their little small attempts that they're making. They're gonna get the trick so much faster and you're not gonna get frustrated feeling like you're stuck. This is just a little side note, but I recommend if your horse knows how to lay down that you don't film lay down tutorials with them because at some point they will become very confused. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it helped in some sort of way. It really helps me if you subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I will have more how-to videos out soon.